Hey, what's happening, everybody? Alright, back at the van doing some more work here. I'm just about to wrap this build up. Just a few loose ends to tie up. I had a commenter, and I'd mention your name, but unfortunately I'm not at the computer and I can't remember it. But you mentioned about ventilating these boards underneath the bed mattress, and I thought that was an excellent idea. It did occur to me that maybe I should do that, but then until you mentioned it, it struck a chord with me. So that's what I've been doing this morning. Drilled a bunch of 1.25 inch or inch and, I don't know, 1.5 inch holes in the top, just so air can circulate through that foam and that mattress, and it doesn't build up moisture and hopefully prevents it from molding. We'll see how it works out. I'm sure it's not going to hurt anything, although it was a awful lot of work and my drill is on its last leg, so it's pretty hard on the drilling all those holes. But I'm happy that I did that, and now I can think that I probably got it set up properly. Also, if you can see on the top edge of the box, I put 3 holes on this side, I put 3 on the front and 3 on the other side. The other day when I was running in the refrigerator and it was warm outside, I had the van closed up, and I noticed when I opened the back doors that a lot of heat came out of here from that refrigerator, blowing that hot air out of that fan that cools the compressor. So I don't know if it'll help or not, but I don't want to drill too many holes in the side of this thing. That 1/4 inch board there is a lot of the strength of this bed, but I did put some more ventilation. You can see some of them up there in the front maybe, and over on the side, just to help some of that air escape, that hot air that comes up out of that compressor up to the top and then out. Now if the bed wasn't there, I could just open up the top and, you know, ventilate it that way, and I may end up doing that when it's a hot day and that compressor's running quite a bit, so it'll pull cool air from below. But this whole end right here is open anyway, so that should be I don't know, it should have plenty of ventilation. I guess time will tell. So I need to get the bed put back up on there, but I wanted to show you my storage ideas and run a few things by you guys. You see the back of the van here, I have one of these I don't know what you call them, receiver hitch platforms or storage rack. Now this is one that I had bought for my other van, and I just never used it, so I just put it together the other day, and it's an El Cheapo I bought of one of those online Chinese tool shops. I'm not going to mention the name, but anyway, that's where I got the rack, and it's not super heavy duty. It says it'll hold 500 pounds, maybe right here in the center, if you were able to distribute the weight evenly. I'm not going to put more than a couple 100 pounds on it. And a beauty of one of those racks with this Transit Connect van is the distance between the back axle, that's going to be the pivot point, and the back of this is only about, just looking at it, maybe about 4 feet. So when I go up a curb or something, the back of this rack doesn't scrape on the ground. Now if I go up something really steep, I guess it still could, but I think I have a pretty good amount of clearance there. And some of them, more expensive ones, will have a angled piece that comes out of the receiver. It angles up to put this rack a little higher off the ground, but I don't think it's going to hurt in my case. That's one of the reasons I didn't use it on the other van, because the other van that I had was an extended Ford E350, and it was probably almost 10 feet from the middle of the back axle to the back of the rack. And this is probably half that distance. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. As you go up a hill, the front of the van goes up and the back comes down. Anyway, I hope you understand what I'm saying there. And then I bought a big, huge, heavy duty, this is a 53 gallon heavy duty container. Cool thing is, made in the USA. How about that? One of the few things sitting on a Chinese rack. And you can get them in a couple versions. This one has a built-in lock. I don't know how heavy duty it is. Probably not very good. It's got a couple keys to it and a little latch that just locks the center of it. But it's a huge amount of space. So I'll be putting things in here, not a lot of expensive things, but things like some camp tools, some stakes, my tarp, camp stove, some of those 1-pound propane tanks for my camp stove, that sort of thing, so that I can get some of the items out of the van and back here where it's out of my way. So it's just got some wire hinges in the back. They claim don't rust, but we'll see. I will definitely give it the test. We got a huge amount of rain the other day and the humidity is really high here right now. And don't let your babies crawl inside this thing, because it could be dangerous. I don't have to worry about that. And then it's got a couple of holes here where you can put a lock on there. I don't know. I may put a lock on there, like if I walk into a store or something, just prevent somebody from just lifting it up, or I could lock this. But for somebody that wants in there, they'll be able to get in there whether you put a lock on it or not. It's just plastic. It's real heavy duty, but it's just plastic. So here's some ideas I'm thinking about, or I was thinking about. I think I've narrowed down to what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run 2 ratchet straps, one here and one here, up over the top, and ratchet the thing to the rack. Some people will drill holes in the bottom and put some big washers or whatever and actually bolt this thing to the rack, which would be cool. And I wouldn't have to worry about it walking away unless somebody had tools with them. But, and I may do that in the future. For this trip, I'm not going to bolt it down because I'm thinking I want to be able to use these back doors. Now see, I had to open the doors first and then put the container up there. I can't operate the doors with it in the way. And I want to be able to, when I get to the camp, I want to be able to take it off of there, bring it over to the side and use it as a table. Or if it's in the shade, I can use it as a table right here. That's probably where I'll put my camp stove and cutting board or whatever to cook my food. And I could do it from the inside too, sit up in there and sit on the bed or something and cook something. But it's huge. It's 36 3/4 by 22 deep this way by 20 1/4 high. It's a huge amount of space. And the way these Ford Transits work, you can buy these receiver hitches. That's a class 3 receiver hitch that I bought it from a place online and bolted on here. Only 4 bolts to put it on, and it's super simple to do. The hardest part really is you have to drop your spare tire down, which is really pretty simple. Get the spare tire out of the way and then you can bolt the rack up in there. The van has 4 threaded, welded in nuts and areas that bolt this right to the frame. Being a class 3, I can take 500 pounds of tongue weight and pull 3,500 pounds. But the van, I don't believe, is capable of that. It's just the receiver hitch is rated for that, if it was bolted to a vehicle that had that capability. This is not a van that is, I mean, I could maybe one of those small cheap trailers, you know. I could pull a small lightweight trailer with it probably and not have any problems, but it's not an overly powerful vehicle anyhow. And all I wanted it for was the ability to put a 2-inch receiver in there and put this rack on the back. The farther away you get from the pivot point, which is really the center of the back axle, the more leverage this rack has on the vehicle. So I don't want to put I'm not going to put more than maximum a couple 100 pounds on this rack. I may strap a 5-gallon water bottle or water container, one on this side and one on this side, and put a ratchet strap around it, or maybe just through the holes down here. The rack has a bunch of holes in it for putting ratchet straps and stuff. But just a couple things about having a rack like this is anything you put on this rack, you know, when you stop or you go into a store, or if your vehicle's parked in a parking lot and you're out goofing off, it's, you know, it's vulnerable to somebody thinking they need your stuff more than you need your stuff. So I'm trying to put that into thought as to what I put in it, how valuable the items are, would I be able to get along without them if somebody decided to take them. But for the majority of the time, like when I'm out camping, I'm going to be somewhat secluded. Somebody could still come over and take something, but when I'm sleeping when I'm en route or something like that, you know, I'm going to be sleeping right there. I should be able to hear somebody fiddling around on the back of the van if they're trying to bust into this thing or trying to take it. It could still happen, but I'm thinking the chances are pretty slim. Anyway, somebody wants something bad enough, they're going to take it whether you want them to or not. But that's my idea. So it's going to double as a table, it's going to double as extra storage, and then I'll be able to put firewood and stuff like that on the back of this. Things that I don't want to be putting in the van may have bugs and spiders and critters or who knows, whatever. I could put out here and haul it around the camp or around the mountains or wherever I'm at. It's kind of windy out here, so I hope that's not messing up the audio on this video. A couple other thoughts about this and things I've been running through my mind is that solar panel. I thought real seriously about, I could put 2 aluminum mounting brackets and bolt them to this lid, and then I could put my solar panel on here. A couple of issues with that. One, the solar panel is vulnerable, you know, to somebody messing with it. But a plus is I could really wipe it off and keep it clean easily. 2 is I would have to park strategically, which is not a big deal, so that the van doesn't shade the solar panel. Like the way it's sitting right now, if I had a solar panel on there, most of the solar panel would be in the shade, and it would really be hurting the power that I'm receiving on my solar panel. And I only have one panel, so it really needs to be in the sun when I have the options to do that. Of course, I could lay it up here at a campsite and just let it sit there if it's in the sun. 2 is if I put the solar panel on top of this, which would be nice to get it out of the van. It'd be nice to haul it that way, but then it's going to make it that much more difficult to pick up. It'll stick out about 4 or 5 inches on each side of this top to pick this up and move it off of the rack off to the side. And then every time I want to maneuver the solar panel to the sun, I would have to pick this box up and move it around, and I just don't think I want to mess with that. I think I'm just going to store the panel inside, probably up on the bed when I'm traveling, and mount this box so that it's removable, so I can take it off, use my back doors, and put it in the shade and use it as a table. And then the third thing I was thinking about, at least just for ideas if somebody's thinking about doing this, I thought would really be cool. And who knows, maybe in the future I'll do it. I thought I could build a plywood floor for this thing that would raise it up to the top of this lip. I could bolt the plywood floor to the rack, and then I could have 2 of those shelf slider roller thingy majiggers. I don't know what they're called, like for making cabinet drawers, and another piece of plywood on top of that, so that that plywood shelf would slide out here. Then I could close the doors, open the doors, and slide the shelf back, and then just like a pin to hold it in place. That would be pretty cool. But again, that you're going to add you're going to add quite a bit of weight to this rack doing that. You know, and then on the bottom of the box you'll have a, probably should use 3/4 inch plywood, maybe a 1/2 inch, but that would be bolted to the bottom of the box. Then the sliders would be bolted to the floor that I make, that is bolted to the rack. So I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a kind of a cool idea, but for my situation I don't think I'm gonna do it. It would be cool though. Slide that thing out here, close the doors, slide it back, and drop in a pin. Just some thoughts anyway. They make these racks that you can swivel out of the way, but they're really expensive, and I certainly didn't need that. This one I actually already had, and it was pretty cheap. Anyway guys, I'm about to put together a video, show you how I'm going to do my my awning, cheap temporary awning, and I mean cheap, and show you guys how I do that. See how people get around in this town, driving around on their golf carts. That's my uncle-in-law. He must have been coming over to talk to me, saw I was doing a video and decided to move on. Anyway, I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do that awning. And if you look at, I think it's Exploring Alternatives, a young couple that had a van and they do a bunch of tiny home videos and stuff like that. Very cool very cool channel. They're the ones that inspired the idea to use a tarp and some of those spring clips, and then a couple of stakes or sticks to hold up the tarp. That's how I'm going to do mine. So if you want to look forward and before you wait for my video to come out, look at theirs. They have one that they did on their van, and it worked out really nice, or it looked nice to me. So I think that'll be sufficient for what I'm planning on doing. I'll show you guys how I put mine together when I get those videos done, but that's the idea. Anyhow, well, I'm going to let you go, cut this off. It's getting pretty long again, and we'll get to work. We'll see you guys on the next one.